Hi there. So here's another tutorial. This time we're going to talk about RAW formats and Insta360. You can see if you extract from Insta360 Studio, you'll get this lat long image, 2:1 ratio, kind of familiar with what you get out of 360 video with the distortion in. So I'll just show you this. So you get this kind of thing. The raw files themselves are actually MP4s. You can sort of open them, but you only see one of the fisheyes. I just drag .isnv onto the GUI. It will load up. It realizes that it's got two streams, front and back. And there is a workflow just for that. So we've got Insta Video Raw here. If you pick this one, that will do all the settings kind of out the bat. What it's going to do is in the shape, it's going to turn on fisheye circle and create a little thing here. What I'm going to do is just extract, this is quite long, so I'm going to extract 30 frames. Kind of do it manually just to kind of take you through the steps. So I didn't rename the project. So it's got this raw in caps on it. It's worth trying this. I'm not convinced completely of which method is best. I know when you're stitching the two lenses together, you do get a bit of a seam issue where it's kind of not quite right and maybe making things up to remove things out. And then this is the pure raw sort of data. So in this particular one, you now have the mask on. I turn this off, you just see, and you can actually change the size of that if you wanted to bring it in, or you can kind of paint it with masks, which is what I'll show you. So with the AO mask, I'm just going to run the person one. So I'm just going to run that while it's going, and then we can do the shape mask. What you'll see is the lens, that's not the lens, sorry, the camera is visible to the lens. So they're obviously cutting this out when the stitch is happening, so we're losing a little bit of data there. I found a really good way is to basically paint a mask for the camera itself. So you'll see I'll just paint here just up to that bit, and there's the other bit there. And so what I can do here is do apply to all frames, and so that will run through and apply them across all of those frames. And now you can see our AI masking is coming in as well. Maybe if I'd had camera in there, it would have spotted it, but it's quite abstract, the image. So this is the sort of prep that you would do with the dual fisheyes, and it shows you which one's going on. Going into the folder, essentially it extracts them to separate image streams with back and front within the naming. You can see those there, and that's the individual 3840 by 3840. You know, it's fairly sharp, getting a bit of noise towards the edges though of the data, so potentially denoising might be theoretically possible. That's run through 60 frames because obviously we've got two image sets. And we've got it all masked now as well. So we don't use the Sirius FM alignment because that's for the equilateral images. We're going to use this external Colmap workflow. So essentially this runs through each one of these steps. It's going to do feature extraction for fisheye. It's going to do the matching, going to reconstruct it. Often I found it was creating two sets of models. So I actually ended up doing a little Python script. And that Python script basically lives software. So in the scripts folder, if you are needing to apply anything like that, so you can see I've got this one selected, and then in the scripts folder, I'm just picking this best model file. So it's kind of running there. So you can put them in there and use this sort of app directory, and then they'll move with it. Or you could put the full path in if you wanted to. And selects the best model, passes that on for the understore, Still running through Colmap, then it runs the masks, and then this one actually trains in brush for that particular one. So if I'll try running all of these if we get time to do it, so I can just do run all. And it may take a bit of time to do it. I found that you do end up with a slight sort of gap between the lenses in terms of a good point cloud. Maybe it's the amount of distortion, I'm not quite sure. But I've added in brush and lift field training in there as well. You don't have to run them. You can turn each step off here if you wanted to see just what it's outputted. Now, this is then going to run within the Colmap folder again. You can kind of, if you had the debug.bat mode on, you see a lot more info sort of streaming out. But yeah, actually, if you scroll down here, sorry, I forgot. There is a console that's for all the external workflows here, and it's quite useful because you kind of see if you run into problems. And obviously this is not going to play ball, but you'll see step 1 of 6 there, and that's quite useful to see what step you're on and what happened within it, because the direct links to the Colmap logs and stuff like that won't be readily apparent where they are. So that will run the alignment, reconstruction, extract that, and you'll get, instead of it being in the cubic folder, because it's an external workflow, you can see actually it's being saved here under Colmap fisheye, and that's where the result will be created. I think it might create 1 or 2, like I think there's a stereo folder in there or something like that for some reason, but generally it's the same sort of thing we did in the previous tutorial, where you'll grab the sparse, the images and the masks, and then put those in to post shot or whatever you're using. So in terms of the Osmo workflow, it's pretty similar, and I've added in an Osmo raw training methodology in here. So this may break stuff if I select that while I'm running this one. So I'll kind of avoid that on this particular thing. But that's how... oh, and one thing... I think the masks... If you ever wanted to like tweak these... you can use this little plus to save them. So you pop that and it'll give you a different template name in here. And then you'd be editing something along here, like, you know, maybe the max number of features is too small or too large, whatever you want to tweak, in a sort of more advanced workflow. And then you could run that particular setting as well. And also you've got an output folder here for Colmap fisheye, but I'll try and do a bit more of an in-depth tutorial on these external tools, how best to use them. But I think it's a really powerful addition to it. So yeah, this will carry on alignment. I've run these through as tests, and you get a very similar result to the Insta360 Studio output versus the raw file. So it's basically to give you all the flexibility you might want from the tool and not restrict you in any way. But yeah, that's how we deal with raw files.